We're here at the Los Olivos Wine Merchant and Cafe with Blair Fox from Blair Fox Cellars. Blair is our featured winemaker for the month of May, and he's going to be here actually on May 27th. And he's going to be pouring his wines and offering tastes of them during our regular dinner service on that night, May 27th.
So I was born and raised in Santa Barbara, and then I went off to UC Davis and got my degree in viticulture enology, but always wanted to come back to the area and make wine. So I was on the back of my parents cruising around Napa when I was 1 year old. I was on bikes around the San Ynez Valley at that point, which was a long distance between wineries because there were few and far between. Kind of in the 80s, and then came back in the late 90s here to make wine after I got my credential. At first I was pre-med, and then I then was transitioning into fermentation science, which is essentially beer brewing. At that point, the Englishman who was the head of fermentation science, his visa was revoked, and he had to stay in England, and so all of his courses were canceled, and so I had to scramble to find some new coursework, and I stumbled into my first viticulture class and just fell in love with the grape growing side of it. And at first thought I was going to be a grape grower, but then once I figured out that you could grow these amazing grapes and then you have to turn them over to somebody else to actually turn them into wine, I figured I better do that side of it as well. So I ended up graduating with a combined degree in both viticulture and enology.
I have to interrupt. So you had an epiphany. Blair is also the winemaker not only for Blair Fox Cellars, but also for Epiphany and Fess Parker's winery here in the valley. So you had a little epiphany in college, and it followed you into your life.
Yeah. So after my epiphany, I figured, I wanted to make wine. Also, I feel it's really important to be part of the grape growing process. So once we came home and kind of established the roots back in Santa Barbara County, and I started my first vintage for myself was 2001.
That's right. I think you mentioned that we were one of your first establishments to actually feature Blair Fox Cellars on a wine list in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Do you remember what wine that was?
It was the 2001 Harmon Family Syrah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your own project, what your focus with Blair Fox Cellars is, and a little bit also about when you planted your own estate wines and what you have in that vineyard?
Sure.
And how you grow it, since you do like focusing on the vineyard.
Yeah. So I always established Blair Fox Cellars with a focus on Syrah and other Rhone varieties. And today I think I make Syrah from like 6 different vineyards, but I also have our own estate vineyard, which is all organically grown grapes, farmed entirely by hand.
So you have 6 different vineyards for Syrahs for Blair Fox Cellars.
Right.
Then you make wine for Fess Parker's and Epiphany, and all their wines.
Right.
You must be very organized.
I am.
You have to be.
Yeah. So a lot of different varieties. My estate is planted Grenache, Syrah, a little bit of Zinfandel, Petite Syrah, and then Vermentino, which is the only white grape planted there.
So Blair also has 2 adorable daughters, who it's been so cute to watch grow up. Every time I see them, they're just, if you think his wines are wonderful and beautiful, his daughters are amazing little people too. Can you tell us how they help in your harvest process and what their take is, and if you see them taking over after you someday?
It's definitely like a family-run business. I mean, my wife does the books and helps run the tasting room.
And a beautiful wife.
And then the kids have grown up in this industry, which is a fantastic industry to grow up in. They love riding around on the forklift, and they do some pigeage, which is foot stomping, and they help with punch downs.
They aren't afraid of the bees?
No, they're not afraid of bees. And they're,
the first time I had my kids do that, they were like, ah! That was the last time too. Well, thank you, Blair. We'll be offering all of Blair Fox Cellars wines that we carry, and we're bringing in 2 more in addition to these. as well this month, and they're all going to be 20% off for the month of May. So if you'd like to try Blair's wines and have taste of them, we'll have quite a few of them by the glass this month. So it's a great time to get to know his wines. We're glad that you had your epiphany back in college and found this route, and that you're making wine instead of beer. And I'm sure you'd make a great doctor, but I'm glad you're making wine.
Cool.
So stop by the Los Olivos Wine Merchant Cafe, or you can order Blair's wines online, losolivoscafe.com or buysantabarbarawine.com. If you can't get to the restaurant this month, you can at least enjoy them at home. Thank you, Blair.
Thank you.